going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. This is episode 325, part number 1 for your Friday, May 8th, 2020. And the start of the week, we were blessed with a Talk Is Jericho episode that I think we've all been waiting for. And that is the major discussion on the podcast today. Talk Is Jericho sat down with the Revival. Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood. That's Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder on Talk Is Jericho, now named or renaming themselves the Revolt, on their way to AEW, I'm sure, amongst all other promotions as well. NWA, I could see them end up in New Japan, but primarily they'll be working out of Jacksonville for Tony Khan and All Elite Wrestling. What did they say? What were the reasons why they asked for their release? What did they want the WWE to do? And were the reports of them being dressed as clowns legitimate? And who exactly leaked those pictures to all the dirt sheets that picked up on the story, man? A lot of juicy information there, but I will say this in regards to the Revival. I listened to the entire podcast. Not one time was I surprised by anything that I heard. I actually sat down here, and when Sasha Banks was reportedly frustrated with the WWE, and we reported on it and covered it on Off the Script following their tag team championship loss to the Iconics at WrestleMania, I knew exactly why Sasha Banks had left the WWE. I knew what led to Sasha Banks wanting to leave the WWE. Legitimately walking out wanting to quit WWE. So much so, because I'm a fan of Sasha Banks, and I had people that I did not expect to hit me up. And they let me know, man, I never listened to your show before. And what you said about Sasha Banks and how you went into detail about Sasha Banks, you were spot on. You were spot on. I don't work for the company. I don't have any stock in WWE. I don't know anybody in WWE. I don't work there. So how exactly did I know all this information about why Sasha Banks left the WWE? Guys, it's simple. All you have to do is watch the show. All you have to do is watch how they treat the talent. Put yourself in their shoes. You will find the answers when you open your eyes to see what is going on. It's no different than Sasha Banks' situation. None. Not one iota of a difference. It's all the same. And why did the Revival leave the WWE? Open your eyes. Look at what WWE did to them. Look at how WWE treated them. Look at how WWE treated the tag team division. Look at how WWE treated the tag team titles on both shows. Not just on the show that the Revival were on both shows. It's not that difficult. We're going to go over all that they said, or at least the most important things that they said on Talk Is Jericho right here on the podcast. Also, a lot of people making a big deal about Triple H selling over $1 million in WWE stock. Why did he do it? Is there something happening that we don't know of, or is Triple H in dire need of money? Nobody knows. I got the answers for you right here on the podcast. Future of Cain Velasquez. What is he doing after his short-lived reign in WWE? Why is Vince McMahon mad at Roman Reigns? The likely reason, according to Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer, I'll go over that on the podcast today. Vince McMahon's vision, his current vision for the WWE product on TV, on Fox and USA. Bro, you don't want to know his current vision. All we know is that his current vision is complete trash. And we'll go over that as well. And the SmackDown on Fox ratings are in, and they are the lowest on Fox since their debut since October. I can't help but fucking smile. I can't help but smile, man. I love it. I love it. It brings a smile to my face, man. It warms me like it used to warm me walking into Grandma's house and she had the entire kitchen smelling like spaghetti and meatballs, bro. It warms my soul to know that SmackDown is absolutely dying 1,000 deaths on Fox. It really does. It really does. And I don't want WWE to fail, but they need a dose of reality. Not only do we talk reality on the show, but the ratings are a bigger reality than anything. And I'm glad they are where they are because they have to learn somehow. Will they change? Probably not. Will the fans come back? I hope not. Because at that point, then they'll change. When the fans don't show back up and Fox starts getting a little testy, Vince, what's going on here, bro? We expected a 3. You're on Fox, but you're getting lower ratings than you were on the USA Network. Something's got to change. If there's pressure from Fox, if there's pressure from Wall Street, if there's pressure internally from the WWE roster on SmackDown, I don't know. Things need to change. And we'll talk about all that and all the news coming out of SmackDown right here on the podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Like I said, it's episode 325 of Off the Script. This is part number 1, Friday, May 8th, 2020. A lot of stuff to go over. Glad you guys are joining me here. Busy week, man. Really busy week for the brand on YouTube. Monday Night Raw. We covered Monday Night Raw. We did AEW. We did NXT this week. So I added another 2 hours of NXT content on YouTube, on Spotify, on iTunes. So if you guys missed any of that stuff, please make sure you guys go and check all that stuff out. Everything is linked down below in the description of this very video. Monday, I was alone. I was solo. And then on Wednesday for Dynamite, my boy Jesse showed up and we talked Dynamite for almost 2 hours. And we went over everything leading into Double or Nothing. I want to, give him a shout out. He was gracious enough to join me. Hopefully, everything will be a lot better and a lot smoother on Wednesday. I think I'm going to have him on a little bit more regularly because it takes a huge load off of my back. And it's easier for me when I got to digest 4 hours of wrestling on a single Wednesday night because I watch AEW, I watch NXT, and I record NXT primarily the next day. That's how I've been doing it. So having Jesse there kind of takes the load off for me to not really go in depth the way that I would because him and I are on the same wavelength anyway. So it's nice to have somebody there to just bounce ideas off of and feed off of. So I want to try and incorporate, or at least try to incorporate that on the channel. And then on Thursday, I sat down with my boy Ticket Drew, and we went over NXT, being that he's a WWE guy on the AEW podcast on Wednesday. I was doing it with him. You guys didn't like him over there. Everything was a little bit better flowing on Thursday when we talked WWE. It's more in his wheelhouse. So that was great. And if you guys missed all of that, links are down below in the description of this very video. Follow me on social media at JDfromNY206. That's on Twitter and Instagram. You guys know the deal over there. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. It takes little to no effort to hit that thumbs up, guys. You don't know how great it helps out the channel. So please make sure you do that. I don't ask for donations. I don't take donations. I don't really push my Patreon all that much. It's there if you guys want to support. The greatest you could give back to me is hitting that thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. So make sure you guys go and do that. Again, hit that subscribe button. If you guys want to support the Patreon, it's always there. Patreon.com/JDfromNY206. And today's podcast is brought to you by my good friends over at Tavour. I know you guys are drinking. I know I am. Every time I get my box, I'm keeping something on ice from Tavour. You guys can't go to the craft beer bars, so bring the craft beer bars to you. And there's no better way to do that than Tavour. And we'll go over what they are doing for the spring and summer months as the weather is getting warmer, man. We'll go over what Tavour is doing a little bit later on the show. Let's get into the Revival, man. I got so many notes here on the Revival, a.k.a. the Revolt on Talk Is Jericho. I want to, first of all, say that I am a big fan of the Revival. I am a big fan of, I'm going to call them Wilder and Dawson, because that's what they are currently known as by the majority out there before they make their re-debut in a new promotion. So we'll call them the Revival and we'll call them Wilder and Dawson. Okay? I'm a big fan of what these guys are. I'm a big fan of what they do in the ring. And I do think it is a missed opportunity to have a team like this in WWE. And I really think the WWE missed the boat on revitalizing tag team wrestling. Because there's no fucking way. There's no way how you could look at NXT and what they did down in NXT with everybody that came through there at the time they were down there. Literally every single takeover, every single match that included an American Alpha or the Revival, an American Alpha or DIY, the Revival versus Enzo and Cass, the Revival versus God knows who, right? Just as recently as a couple of months ago, the Revival versus the Undisputed Era. Just look at that. And do you see the sheer difference of these guys compared to when they were on Monday Night Raw? They were there, and 25 minutes, Triple H said, go out there and show me why you're the best tag team on the planet. And WWE had these guys in the palm of their hands, and instead of revitalizing a dead division, WWE buried them along with the division and said, fuck it. And that goes right along with Vince McMahon's fuck it all attitude. These guys, no matter where they go, they're not going to be trendsetters. They're not going to be ratings galore. They're not going to move the needle. They're not going to do anything along those lines. They're not going to bring awareness to an AEW like you think that they are. They're not going to bring awareness to an AEW or a NWA or an Impact or wherever the fuck these guys end up. They're not going to bring that type of awareness where it's going to swing the tides over to wherever they are. They're not going to ever get the one up on WWE in the ratings. They're not going to bring awareness to a specific brand. The way that they are going to get the one up from anywhere they are and shove it in WWE's face is when they succeed and they show WWE why they are better off away from Vince McMahon. And why they were there, it was a career fucking downfall, and why they could be with anybody else, literally, they're going to show WWE why you missed the boat. And fuck you for letting us go, or not believing in us, and yada, yada, yada. It's going to be great. That is the ultimate satisfaction that I would take away from this if I am the Revival. Because I know that's exactly what I would do. That's exactly what I would do. Now, with that being said, everybody knew this day was going to come. The Revolt, the Revival, on Talk Is Jericho. Okay? So they made their appearance this week on Chris Jericho's podcast, Talk Is Jericho. They spoke about a wide variety of topics. Cash Wheeler, formerly Dash Wilder, and Dax Harwood, formerly Scott Dawson, of the Revival, now being called the Revolt, started out talking about the influence that Dusty Rhodes had on them and how he thought they would make a great tag team. Dawson mentioned how much Rhodes liked them because of how Southern these guys were and how Southern they could talk and get the job done, and knew that he could push back at WWE management for it. And that is something that they really did talk about. Like, Vince McMahon typically doesn't take to that type of accent. He doesn't get it. He doesn't understand it. He doesn't find it attractive for whatever reason. He looks at them and looks at them a little bit less than he would look at everybody else. And they really did mention that. Dawson went on to say that he thinks a Southern accent is a problem to Vince McMahon. It's a thing that Vince McMahon doesn't like, but it's a worldwide thing. As some people think if you have a Southern accent, then you're dumb compared to other parts of the world. Wheeler chimed in by stating that there is a stigma that if you have a Southern accent, then you can be limited, which he doesn't think should be the case. I don't really understand that. And this goes in line with everything that Vince McMahon typically does. If you're not big-breasted and blonde, with major curves, if you're not injecting your stuff with steroids and you don't look like fucking Lou Ferrigno, you know, it's one of those things that Vince McMahon just doesn't get. I honestly do think, and I could be wrong on this, but I don't think I am, Vince McMahon only hires who he has to, like an Andrade, like anybody from that Mexican descent, and that Mexican lucha culture, people from the South, overseas from Japan or China, and this and that, to make it seem like WWE is branching out and being multicultural. Meanwhile, I do think Vince McMahon doesn't have any plans for these people, and he's only using them to kind of fill out his roster resume, and he wants the perception that WWE welcomes all. Meanwhile, how many of these people has WWE and Vince McMahon gotten behind and really made a top-level superstar? How many of these people, how many of these men and women have WWE and Vince McMahon gotten behind and made into a Hall of Fame resume? Or Hall of Fame career, or had a Hall of Fame career? Not many of them. Not lately. Not lately. If you don't have a proper look, if you have slanty eyes, if you are of a certain skin color, if you speak a certain way, if you look like Shayna Baszler and you don't look like fucking Kelly, or Stacy Keibler, or Alexa Bliss, or if you're not Charlotte Flair going out and getting 67 surgeries, and you have flotation devices known as breasts, and you have no ass, but I know that you're enhancing your ass slowly but surely, and you have blonde hair, and etc., then that's all they look for. That is all they look for. They don't care. Because if that was the case, Cesaro would have been a multi-time world champion. We would have had Shinsuke Nakamura come over from New Japan Pro Wrestling and set the world on fire, which we all expected him to do that, and he has not done that. Finn Balor never really amounted to anything on the WWE main roster. Why is that? Why is that? Becky Lynch was looked down upon at one point in time because of her accent. And now all of a sudden, everybody's pro Becky Lynch. What happened there? What happened there? WWE fell into an agenda, and they needed to use somebody because Charlotte Flair, if used, would have been blatantly obvious. They could have used Sasha. Why didn't they use Sasha? They could have used Bayley. Why didn't they use Bayley? No, it had to be Becky Lynch because Charlotte would have been too out there. Oh my God, they're pushing Charlotte Flair again. And they had Ronda Rousey. And then Becky Lynch was just there. And it was a mere happenstance. WWE wanted to turn Becky Lynch heel, and it was one of the only times, besides Daniel Bryan and the Yes Movement, where the fans said, fuck this shit, we want Rebecca Quinn, and not heel Rebecca Quinn. We want to love her, and cheer for her, and adore her. We don't give a shit about Charlotte. It was one of the very few times where the fans actually had a goddamn brain and did something right. So when I heard that about the revival, I said, you know what? I'm not surprised by this. And that goes to show you why everybody says Vince McMahon is a racist human being. He is. This is why I am so scared for Shayna Baszler on the main roster. This is why I'm so scared for Bianca Belair on the main roster. If Bianca Belair is not a Raw Women's Champion by the end of the year, that is an absolute crime to humanity. A crime to professional wrestling. Why hasn't Ember Moon been pushed? You're going to tell me that Ember Moon is not worth a couple of title reigns at least on that Raw or SmackDown roster? Give me a... Why is Sasha Banks a 4-time women's champion with a total reign of like 70 days? Why? When she's heralded as one of the best female wrestlers in the entire world. Why is that? Because she's the cousin of Snoop Dogg, folks. Because she is a non-white, non-plastic, actual human being. And she's much more attractive than anybody that I previously mentioned that's had 98 surgeries and that has come off the fucking conveyor belt in the factory. Charlotte. You know? And Lacey Evans. And all these women that are just there with no fucking talent and plastic. This is the way of the WWE. Really. So if you guys don't believe that, if you are looking at me like I got 7 heads, or you're looking at me all twisted, the fuck do I care? It's the truth. Everything I say here is my opinion. You either agree with it or you don't. You take it and use it and apply it, or you just look at me like I'm some fucking lunatic. But I know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I wouldn't have stated it. This is what I see. This is how I watch the WWE. I wish I could give my eyes to all of you watching the show. I really do. Now, it turns out that Wheeler recalled a time where they brought them up having a Southern accent to McMahon, or they brought up having a Southern accent to McMahon, and asked whether he didn't like it which led to McMahon telling them that he's from North Carolina. Regarding their WWE releases, Wheeler confirmed that they did ask to be released in mid-January 2019, and at the time, they were under the impression that they were going to get it. But that was not the case. Wheeler then went back to the Christmas tour of 2018 after working house shows with the Lucha House Party. So that was pretty much it. This is where they came up with the idea of waiting through the tour until they're on the upswing, so it didn't look like they wanted out of WWE just because they're losing their matches. Instead, they didn't want people thinking it's just about them, but rather the tag team division as a whole. And I listened to that part of the podcast, and I'm like, anybody else would have been all about themselves. I got information from people that if I told you I got the information from, you would never believe me. In regards to how the women's division operates, and just by me listening to these people, I'm like, man, it's just great to be justified. It really is just great to be justified in everything that I've thought about and assumed in regards to the women's division. Everybody is out for themselves. Literally, everybody is out for themselves. And it all goes back to Sasha and Bayley. All they wanted was a better women's division. All they wanted was a tag team titles to really enhance the women's division and for WWE to get behind it. Little did they know that WWE didn't have any desire to get behind a women's tag team division, let alone the women's division. Sasha and Bayley were reportedly throwing a hissy fit after they lost to the Iconics at WrestleMania that year, which was complete bullshit. I know for a fact it was complete bullshit. Ryan fucking Satin reported bullshit. I'm glad he got called out on it. And they were the only two women out of the entire WWE locker room backstage at WrestleMania to come out and stand in attendance with 80,000 people to watch the main event of WrestleMania, which featured Charlotte, Ronda, and Becky Lynch. The only two women to come out and watch. A moment that could have, should have, just changed the entire division completely. And nobody else came out. Why did nobody else come out? Because everybody is for themselves. And even with the report of Satin getting it wrong, he was fed information from people in the women's locker room because he's a credible source. And if he was reporting it, then it must be true. And then Sasha buried everybody on her documentary special. And I heard from people, like I said, you would not believe that I heard from, that it was all bullshit. It's all bullshit. It is all bullshit. So when you read something like that, and I read something like that to you, it just speaks volumes. It speaks volumes. They wanted a better tag team division. That's all they wanted. Why was that so much to ask? Just like Sasha and Bayley wanted a better women's division. Just like Sasha and Bayley didn't want to run around in circles and wrestle the fucking Riot Squad 52 weeks out of the year. That would drive anybody crazy. That would drive anyone to depression. They did the same thing with the Revival. Of course they would ask for their release. How could they not? I would have. But they wanted a better division. That's all they wanted. And I sit here and I wonder how good these guys are that they want to give back to the division. They want to give back to the overall tag team division. They realize something that WWE has failed to realize. That with every other team on their level, with every other team built up, not only is it going to help them, but it's going to make everything revolving around the tag team division that much better, including the titles. How could you get the division over? How could you make people care about the division when you got teams going 50-50 every single week, right? Every other week. You got one match happening one week, then the match happens again the second week, 50-50 booking. How could you have a tag team title in a division with 3 teams? How are you going to build a credible reign? How are you going to build a dominating reign that people are going to look back on? Can't do it. It's virtually impossible. They realize this. What does the division mean? What do the titles mean? If everything in the division is treated like an afterthought, the titles don't mean shit. They don't mean shit. They realize that. Wheeler stated that we're still adamant that long-term, there's just not enough attention paid to the tag team division. Wheeler talked about how he knew beating the Lucha House Party and getting the tag team titles didn't mean anything. Of course they didn't. You put them on the Lucha House Party, or whatever, whoever the fucking champions were. I don't even remember because I genuinely don't care. I really don't. I don't think the Lucha House Party were tag team champions, but beating the Lucha House Party as tag team champions, what the fuck does that mean when you have portrayed the Lucha House Party as jobbers to literally everybody? You brought them over from 205 Live. They didn't do jack shit on Monday night. They're coming out swinging fucking piñatas and they're fucking swinging noisemakers. And you're supposed to take these guys seriously. When WWE portrayed them as a joke, then you want me to take them seriously because they're in the ring with the Revival? It doesn't work that way. You either commit or you don't. You can't meet me halfway. You can't. It's not good for anybody, including the division. They didn't mean anything. He put over how there are so many good tag teams, and there is. This is why I've constantly said, year after year, merge the divisions, and the women's division for that matter. Because the way that they sit right now on both shows, it is downright abysmal. Both women's divisions and both tag team divisions are complete embarrassments. I don't know why WWE just doesn't. You know, you want that brand split, but then you can't do it. WWE could do whatever they want with these divisions. Make one tag team title. Make one women's title. We don't need two tag team titles. We don't need two women's divisions or two tag team championships, two women's championships, a fucking women's tag team championship. We don't need none of this. We don't. You're only adding more nothing on top of nothing. How much value can those divisions have when they currently sit at where they are? You can't. How much do the women's tag team titles mean when there are virtually no tag teams in the women's division? Not one. Sasha and Bayley's going bye-bye soon. Kairi Sane is off to Japan. Asuka is on her own. You're teaming Dana Brooke and fucking Carmella on SmackDown. Spare me the 10 minutes. Barely. Awful. Absolutely awful. Look at the Monday Night Raw tag team division. Street Profits, the Viking Raiders, and then you got a makeshift tag team of two singles wrestlers. Are you serious? Are you fucking serious? Cedric Alexander and Ricochet are amazing at what they do. They're not a tag team, and then WWE jobs them out to Brendan Vink and Shane Thorne on Monday Night Raw. It's not really what I call building up a new legit tag team. I would have taken them seriously. I would take them seriously if they had more competition, but they don't. A tag team division should not be called a tag team division with three fucking teams on the show. And I'm not counting Zelina's group because that's not a tag team. Then you look on SmackDown, you got Miz and Morrison. Hey, no. Then you got the Forgotten Sons, who were only called up to the SmackDown roster because the Usos are injured. The Usos are injured. Then you got the New Day. Spare me their 8 title reigns. Don't remember one of them. 8 meaningless title reigns. And then you got the Lucha House Party, who you've treated like fucking garbage. So why should I take anything that they do or any match that they're in seriously? And then, here's the kicker, folks. What do they do when they got good tag teams? What do they got when they got good tag teams? They got heavy machinery. Otis is now, from what I can tell, a single. He's a single. Where's Tucker? Why did you break up heavy machinery? They were over as a tag team. They didn't even have a cup of coffee as a tag team on SmackDown, and here you are breaking them up. Instead of using both of them when they're at maximum strength, you want to use Otis, who will amount to nothing on SmackDown, because do you really think that Otis is going to be a champion or a major player on SmackDown? He works better in a tag team Tucker now has no job. Why? Especially when you got a team like the Usos out on the shelf for 6 to 9 months. You're going to get rid of the heavy machinery guys and split them up? I don't understand that. Merge the fucking divisions. Merge the divisions. A, it would bring excitement. B, it would make the titles instantly mean more than they ever did in the last 10 years. And you would have actual competition on these shows. Legit, meaningful competition where you can gauge who is who and who is where, and this team is better than that team, and you can have the Viking Raiders go up against the Forgotten Sons, or the New Day go up against Ricochet and Cedric Alexander. It would make the shows that much more meaningful. And you build consistency and continuity, and before you know it, you're looking back 6 months from then, right? You get to a certain point, you're looking back over the 6 months, and you're like, holy shit, this is our tag team division. WWE, if they fucking maneuvered it to a point that I'm talking about here, would have a better tag team division than AEW. Or at least on par. I mean, there's no way I'm talking about this and you're not, yep, JD, I agree. Plus you get that brand split kind of gray area where you got those teams that were previously on SmackDown on Monday Night Raw. They're free to travel. And I don't see the big deal now. They're all filmed from the same fucking location. So what's the big deal? What is your excuse? You know what their excuse is? They don't care. They don't care. I don't know what else I could say. I'm an advocate for tag team wrestling. And it worries me. The one thing that worries me in NXT is not only NXT talent in general, but a women's call-up or a tag team call-up. Because most of the time, they are going to fail. Tag teams especially. I don't understand the lack of enthusiasm or the lack of care for tag team wrestling in WWE. There is money for it. Oh, there is money in it. There really is. Vince doesn't see it that way. And I don't think we are going to see it that way until Vince is gone. Because Triple H clearly cares about tag team wrestling. And he has done so over the past 3 or 4 years. Because look at the reigns that we've had in NXT. Look at the matches we've had in NXT. I don't know why it's so vastly different in one and not the other. I just don't understand it. Moving on. We got Wheeler stating that there's just not enough attention paid to the tag team division. He put over how good these other teams are. They got so many good tag teams. And that they could have, contributed more. He brought up Braun Strowman, and this pretty much is the cherry on top of the cake about how WWE doesn't care about the tag team divisions in general. Strowman running through the entire tag team division and later winning the tag team titles at WrestleMania with a 10-year-old as his partner. Jesus Christ, one of the worst WrestleMania moments of all time. Then no tag teams were featured on SummerSlam until the last minutes. They added the women's tag team titles, which I'm all for, because they are very good friends with Sasha and Bayley, and they were the advocates for those tag team titles. That's why that was said. Just said it's just so last minute, people didn't even know that the tag team titles for the women's division was added on the show. So we wanted to make a point like, look, the tag team division doesn't get respect. It doesn't get the time a lot of these teams deserve, and we want to take chances on ourselves. That's not allowed. WWE doesn't want you taking chances on yourself because there's just a small cunt of a chance that you might get over. And WWE doesn't want you to get over when there's no plans for you to get over in their eyes. That's why WWE frowns upon people getting over on themselves. They will do everything in their power to bury you and suppress you. That's what that means. You get over on your own, forget about it. It might look good in the eyes of the fans, but then WWE catches wind of it. Buried. Oh, you're not allowed to do that. Forever buried. So if you are a pro wrestler in WWE and you're trying to get yourself over, don't. At least do it when you got a contract expiring in 6 months to a year. Because then that means you will be out of there before you blink. If you do this and try to get over when you're in the middle of a 5-year contract and you're only in year 1, year 2, bro, you got 3 years left, 3.5 years left under WWE's lock and key. So you're trying to get yourself over. Now you're going to be buried for the remainder of your contract. Do you want that? Do you want your stock and you want your reputation buried by people who don't give a shit about you? So that's what that means. Don't try and get over. They want to get themselves over. They want to work. WWE doesn't want that because they fear that you will get over. And you can't be, or God forbid, you're better than the teams that they actually, or the team that they actually do push. The teams that they do push, the Usos and the New Day. Everybody else, forget about it. Forget about it. Dead. So they said that they went straight to top management and they wanted to get their releases. Wheeler noted that that's why they asked for their releases. When they did, and it went on for a long time, he noted that it was 15 months to the day that they asked for their releases and finally got their walking papers. He admitted that it was a very intense back and forth to get things done. Harwood chimed in and said that he went straight to the top of management to get their releases, which he thinks that WWE thought they were just bluffing at the time. He recalled how WWE said they were going to put the tag team titles on them and giving them a big run was in the works. Dawson brought up Wheeler telling management that they don't care about the tag team titles or having a big run, but they just want the division to be featured. They didn't even want the title. They didn't even want to be the face of the division. They didn't want the titles. They didn't want a big run because what would the titles mean when it's coming from a place of, just sign the contract and just stay with us, right? And what would the run mean? What would the long reign mean when there's no teams to have a good reign with? There's no competition. That's all they wanted. When things were right and things and pieces were falling into place, then it would mean something. When there's legit competition. But how do you have a tag team title reign and have tag team champions when there's no fucking division? This is what they were trying to get across, and WWE would not listen. Harwood recalled going to talent relations and WWE telling them that they would just release them as soon as they walked out of the office. Everyone knew about it. As soon as they walked out of that public relations office or talent relations office, WWE locker room knew immediately what they went in there for. They knew immediately what they had talked about as soon as they walked out. Crazy. So if they knew already and nobody, it was literally minutes after they had walked out. And everybody in the locker room knew exactly why they went in and what they discussed when they walked out. If they were immediately there to pick up on that, you don't think the fans picked up on it? You don't think people like me picked up on it by just watching the show and how these guys have been treated on TV? And that means volumes. That speaks volumes when their entire locker room, all their colleagues, knew exactly what they had discussed walking out of that office. They knew. Just by that reaction, they knew. These guys were fucking treated like shit. I don't blame them. I don't blame them. Harwood thinks if they were just complaining as much as people thought they were, then they wouldn't have been booked the most in 2019. Wheeler added that they never wanted it to make it a public thing, so that's why they never publicly asked for their releases like other stars. You know, Harwood noted that they just wanted the tag team division to be pushed so that way all of them, every team, every performer in that division could make more money, but did mention how deep down inside he knew that wasn't going to happen. He thinks if two single stars are thrown together like Cedric Alexander and Ricochet, like I talked about, as a tag team, you'll have a better shot at being pushed rather than a traditional tag team. Look at the Ascension. WWE and Vince McMahon, as soon as they got called up to the main roster, Vince ordered them to be buried. Buried. And that's what he said. If you have two singles guys, look. If you're not the Usos and you're not the New Day, look at the tag teams that have predominantly been booked on WWE television. You got Cedric Alexander and Ricochet right now, right? The Viking Raiders, the War Raiders, whatever the fuck you want to call them. Not really doing much of anything. WWE has not gotten behind them whatsoever, and they are not over by any means. Street Profits may be tag team champions, but it's absolutely a worthless title reign. And then look at the other teams that have been portrayed on WWE TV, folks. You got Miz and Morrison, and they are two singles guys acting as a tag team. And don't tell me they're a tag team, because they're not. This is not fucking 10 years ago, 15 years ago. This is two singles guys. Miz made a majority out of his career as a singles. John Morrison reinvented himself as a single, right? Now they're two singles guys, from what we know, and they're a tag team. Then look at The Bar, the other team. Cesaro, a singles guy. Sheamus, a singles guy. And it worked out for them, because WWE was never going to push them as singles entities. They're two singles guys that had a big run as tag team champions. They were multi-time tag team champions. Great team. WWE didn't do anything with them. Look at who was just recently tag team champions on Monday night. Rollins and Murphy over AOP, who were in the same group as Rollins and Murphy and are a legit tag team. I don't get it. And you mean to tell me that these guys are spewing bullshit? You mean to tell me that all I've said is nothing but bullshit? It's the facts, folks. It's the reality of the situation. And it's absolutely the case. If you are a tag team thrown together, you got a better shot at being pushed rather than a traditional tag team. Enzo and Cass, broken up. They went for a big singles run with Big Cass. Failed. They're doing the same thing with Heavy Machinery. It's bullshit. Absolute bullshit. That's why they worked so hard in 2019 to make it a focus of WWE management and focus on the division. Wheeler stated that when they spoke to the person in talent relations who told them that things were going to change, that the person actually meant it. Wheeler recalled telling the person in talent relations, I don't know if it's Mark Carano or fucking Laurinaitis, I don't know who it is, but they didn't mention any names, that they knew the titles didn't mean anything and would rather suffer losses to the champions every night than winning the titles. Can you imagine being the Revival and rather lose to the champions than win the fucking championships, because you know that if you win them, it means the same as losing to the champions every single night? Holy shit. There's no tag team on this planet that should be reiterating that comment. No champion, period. No tag team, no performer, period, should be reiterating anything like that. I don't get it. Wheeler stated that instead of being promised the titles, he would rather want the promise of the tag team division to get a push as a whole and invest TV time in those wrestlers. Wheeler told WWE that if things changed for the tag team division, then they would gladly resign because they didn't want to leave. They didn't want to leave. But at that point, you might have the ear of this guy, but ultimately it all falls on Vince McMahon. And if they signed, more than likely whatever was discussed there would be thrown right out the window and nothing would change. And then they would be stuck for 5 years and their careers would be over. So they wanted that promise of the tag team division. They wanted to stay. However, if things didn't change, then they see no reason as to why they would stay or why they should stay. So Hardwood thinks WWE just wanted to sign them to new deals to keep them away from other opportunities outside of WWE, of course. Now, if you're the WWE, why are you looking at these guys and wanting to keep them for the sake of keeping them? That's the reason why they let all these people go in the first place, because they could not afford to pay them. They could not afford to pay them, and look at what that got WWE. Over 100 fucking terminations on Black Wednesday because they were handed out contracts left and right, and they thought they were invincible. And WWE, no matter how hard they try, AEW is in their head. AEW has WWE dancing on fucking strings every single week. Every single move they make, every single thought that has not really been made public yet, WWE's hanging on every breath. Why? Because that's what they do. Yeah, it's business. I understand business. You're not going to come and tell me that this is business. I know. But if you're not doing anything with the division and you're not using fucking tag teams like the Revival, why are you going to spend money on something you're not going to use? It's basic economics. It's basic logic. I know if I wasn't using something, I'm not going to go out there and buy it. Not going to go out there and renew it. It would be like me resubscribing to Netflix that I haven't watched in an entire year, once in a single year. Why am I going to spend $12.99 on something to just recur monthly payments every single month and I don't watch it? I'm going to cancel it, right? That's what WWE should do, but they don't do that. They try to actively bribe people to stay by promising them shit, and then they do that because they want to bury them and keep them away from anybody else and having them go somewhere else and find success. What a terrible fucking company. What a terrible fucking company. Wheeler mentioned how they were trying to get a meeting with McMahon for some time, but everything was hectic due to SmackDown's move to Fox and the relaunch of the XFL, both which are failures. They were originally told the meeting might not happen, but things can change one day to the other as they were putting mats together. Harwood recalled having one last meeting with McMahon and being pitched the comedy tag team idea that was less than flattering to us, and it wasn't something that they felt like they should represent. He told McMahon, "No, I know about the idea, and that they think it's time for them to go because they're not happy in the E." That's when WWE took them off the road, and that was it. In the meeting, Wheeler recalled how McMahon gave them the concept artwork of his new vision for them as comedy guys. Harwood chimed in and talked about how the wrestlers in WWE are believers in kayfabe, so any leaked information, such as artwork or new concepts or new outfits or new gimmicks and this and that, was not done by the roster because the roster loves to keep kayfabe, no matter what anybody tries to believe. It was leaked by someone on the creative team or in the office at Titan Tower. So that is where that came from. He thinks the artwork was leaked by a writer who came up with the idea. So this no-name writer clearly, sent this over to Heel by Nature or bodyslam.net, I think it was, right? Everybody picked up on it, like, Ringside News and WrestlingNews.co and all these websites, right? No DQ, everybody picked up on it. We all talked about it. Imagine being that no-face fucking creative loser on the creative team and him just going out there and selling this to, or somebody, showing this to a dirt sheet for whatever, It's crazy. So if everybody was thinking that it came from the roster, it wasn't. It wasn't the roster. It was a creative writer who clearly did not give a shit about anything in regards to the revival. And if you did really care about the revival, that's the thing. This is what I don't understand. If you are this person and you actually legitimately care about the revival, why would you? Maybe you could look at it both ways. Like, why would you want to embarrass them like that, number one? But I could also look at it as the other side of the coin. And you would want to kind of say, look, this is fucking bullshit. Look at what they wanted to do to my guys here. So get this out there and really embarrass Vince McMahon and just really expose Vince McMahon for the fucking asshole he really is. So I guess you could look at it from both sides of the spectrum. But I honestly think I would look at it more so the second side. Like maybe this guy was actually sticking up for the revival. We don't know. We don't know who it is. We don't know what his intention was. But I find it funny that it was leaked by somebody in the WWE creative team or someone in the offices over at Titan Tower. Wheeler said that when he got the artwork, "I'll put my hand on the Bible. I laughed out loud in front of everybody." He recalled them, Vince, Bruce Pritchard, and Mark Carano in the room. He said that those executives had mad faces on as a reaction to him laughing about it. So you had Vince, Bruce, and Mark Carano laughing or being mad that the revival were laughing at this idea. Now, I don't know why they sat there with mad. What the fuck did you expect them to do? Is that how lowly you think of the fucking revival, that you're going to sit there with mad faces on because they didn't accept your fucking proposal for a clown-like gimmick? And then this is one of the guys in Bruce running the fucking show. This is Vince McMahon running the goddamn fucking company. That pisses me off. That really pisses me the fuck off. They were told that this idea came about because it would show that they can do other things aside from being serious on television. He thinks WWE realized that they weren't bluffing about leaving or just wanting more money when he told them that the comedy tag team idea wasn't good and bad. However, the Revolt was willing to do the gimmick until their deals were up and would go all in with it to make fun of it or make it fun. So look at how confident they are in their ability to have them say, yeah, we would have taken the gimmick. We would have run with the comedy gimmick. They would have done the gimmick until the deals came up because they knew that they probably were thinking, well, we'll do your shitty gimmick. When everybody knows that our contracts are up, we're gone. You can't give us no 90-day, right? So we'll be on our way. Everybody's going to still be talking about us and how we fucking killed that gimmick and we made that shit work. And then we'll go on to AEW and show you what you're fucking really missing. That's what their mentality was probably. Now, they didn't do it and just rather have asked for their release. WWE let them go. Good. Good. You don't need them. They don't want you. It worked out. Wheeler made it clear that they would do the gimmick until the deals were up in June, and then they were gone. This meeting took place at Friday Night SmackDown's TV taping recently. Before all this actually happened, that following Wednesday, they got the call telling them that they were pulled from the road and on TV. Wheeler stated that the rumors about WWE's offer for a 5-year deal worth $750,000 a year was low. WWE offered them much more money than that to resign and do the new gimmicks. So you're probably looking at close to $1 million a year for the revival. They said it themselves. Wheeler thinks this is the moment that made WWE realize they were serious about not being happy. Harwood thinks the comedy gimmick was because of two possible things. Either McMahon thought it was the greatest thing in the world, or in his mind, he thought they were going to embarrass the Revolt on the way out, which was probably the case. Harwood stated, "I'm still not sure because Vince is the greatest worker in the world. But man, we both had on tassels, bright-colored spandex or suspenders, glow sticks, lipstick. Oh my God, it was the craziest thing in the world." Towards the end of the podcast, Dax Harwood, formerly Scott Dawson, told a story about what WWE Hall of Famer Bret Hart told him, after they were released from the WWE. He says this, and I quote, "The day that we were granted our release, that day I got a text message from Bret Hart. He told me how proud he was of us. He asked me to send it to Daniel, formerly Dash Wilder, which I did. He told me how proud he was that we stood up for ourselves and stood up for what we believed in because it would have been so easy to sit back and collect the money. When he sent that text, I knew beyond the shadow of any kind of doubt that we had done the right thing because the guy who is the king of standing up for himself, he punched Vince McMahon in the face. The guy who is the epitome of standing up for something he believes in took 5 minutes out of his day to tell me how proud he was of us for doing that. I was like, hell yeah, man. We are on the right path. I'm telling you right now, man. I'm going to reiterate it again. And I want you guys to understand that I love the revival. I really do. Not only because of how I think they are legitimately one of the best tag teams on the planet. But after this, I can't see how you don't love them more. Or if you didn't like them, how you don't respect them coming out of this situation. They were selfless in wanting to give. They wanted the division to. They were never selfish about anything. They didn't want the titles. They didn't want a reign. They wanted the division to be more. So not only they could be more, but everybody at the same time could be more, and the titles could be elevated because of it. They walked out of the WWE, even saying they would do the gimmick until their deals were up, because they'd own it, and they'd still be on their way to an AEW or a New Japan and still be as over as they were. Because they knew they were the best tag team on the planet. They're not going to be a ratings draw. They're not going to bring AEW to the brink of 1 million ratings. They're not going to have you be dedicated to one show over the other. It's not like that. It's about standing up for yourself and doing what your heart is telling you to do. It is about walking away from people who don't respect you, who don't value you, who are evil people, who want to keep you from achieving your dreams, who want to keep you from being the very best that you could be. WWE does not care. Vince McMahon does not give a shit about anybody in that company. No matter what you think of Vince McMahon, he does not give a single shit about anybody in that company. Because if he did, shit like this would not be said on a podcast after their immediate release only about a month ago. If I'm them, I couldn't wait to tell my story. They will be one of the best tag teams in wrestling for a very long time now that they're away from WWE. Whether they go to AEW, New Japan, or NWA. This viewer, this podcast, will be watching very closely what their next move will be. And I honestly think you listening to me talk about them and giving you all this information just from no script. This is me. This is me. The only script I had were the notes on the fucking podcast that I listened to. If you don't understand why I do what I do and why I stand up for people like this, you're a lost cause. You really are. This is what everybody should value. Money is not everything in pro wrestling. This is what matters. They want to go out there and be the very best in their fucking industry. If you don't strive to do that, then what the fuck are you doing here? You can make money doing anything. Don't take spots away from people who genuinely want to be here. That's a fucking crime. What a shame. What a pathetic human being. Everybody in WWE is. Namely Vince McMahon. I cannot wait till Vince McMahon is removed from his position in WWE. Things will be a lot better when that day comes. Moving on here, man. Why Vince McMahon is likely mad at Roman Reigns on SmackDown. They pulled Roman Reigns and all mention of Roman Reigns from literally everything that they've done. Fucking St. Jude commercials and whatever the fuck they're doing. Grant a wish, make a wish, whatever they're doing. Roman Reigns was one of the top guys over there besides John Cena to do Make a Wish. And Roman Reigns was pulled from the advertisement for fucking Make a Wish. Roman Reigns was actually edited out when they did a top Money in the Bank countdown. Seth Rollins cash-in at WrestleMania 31 was the number one cash-in in WWE history. They didn't even show Rollins pinning Reigns to win the championship. It's like they want to rewrite history. It's pathetic. It really is. So why is Vince McMahon mad at Roman Reigns? Now, WWE is, if you go to their website, selling different face masks, right? Another fucking political agenda. Please don't buy this bullshit. Seriously, you're just feeding the machine at this point. WWE is selling masks with different superstar designs. They got The Fiend. They got John Cena. They got Sasha Banks. They got whomever else on there, right? Roman Reigns is not one of the options for one of these masks. The situation with Roman Reigns in WWE is not a work. He really is home, and he really went home during the pandemic. Reigns was nixed from a WrestleMania clip during Raw this week. Vince McMahon also sent down word to not include the big dog in any verbiage on television. WWE's digital department is still featuring Roman Reigns in videos, but he's not appearing on television. The fact that WWE released 15 different face masks and Roman Reigns isn't one of them could be a very telling sign for Roman Reigns. Brian Alvarez remarked on Wrestling Observer Live that Vince McMahon's opinion of the CV-19 has likely caused him to hold a grudge against Roman Reigns. Brian Alvarez on Observer says this: "They waited until the very last minute, kicking and screaming to cancel these shows in March. Then, of course, when they canceled these shows as much as they could, it was business as usual. They're going to run live every week, and no matter how much criticism they were just going to continue get, what does that tell you? What does it tell you when they do that and then they get mad at Roman Reigns because he has leukemia? He has leukemia. He's battling it for the rest of his life. What does it tell you when they get mad at him for going home? You know what it tells me? It tells me they think this whole thing is bullshit. They think this whole CV-19 is the flu. Maybe they think it's not as bad as the flu. You know, Vince is out there. He's 74 years old. He's running around like a crazy person. He's not sleeping. What it tells you is that he doesn't take this seriously at all. That's why he's mad at Roman Reigns. Could be. Could be why Vince McMahon is mad at Roman Reigns. I mentioned this last Saturday on the podcast. Roman Reigns is getting, or being looked at least, for Hollywood movie roles. Becky Lynch was already on Billions, right? She's got a major Marvel role coming up. She's not going to be women's champion for long. Now, Becky Lynch isn't going anywhere. She's got a 5-year fucking deal to uphold in WWE. She ain't going anywhere. Whatever she doesn't work and however many months she's out, it'll just be tacked on to the end of her contract. That's what they do. Same thing with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns just signed a new 5-year deal about a year ago. He ain't going anywhere. WWE is stuck with Becky Lynch and Roman Reigns. Where do you think they're going? Where do you think they're going? So Roman can do all the movies he wants. WWE can be pissed all they want. You can't be mad at Roman Reigns after pushing Roman Reigns and Becky Lynch at the forefront of everything that you fucking do. Call yourself sports entertainment and then wonder why Hollywood and all these TV shows and TV projects and big movie producers are looking at people like Becky Lynch and Roman Reigns who are the key figures in their demographic. What are you complaining about? This is why WWE will never have anybody at the level of a Cena, at the level of an Austin or a Rock, or the level of a Hogan or a Warrior. Never again. Never again. There will never be life-size figures in WWE. There will never be that larger-than-life character in WWE, face of the company, because WWE is fucking petty, and they are scared about someone else using their platform, going on to do something else, and becoming bigger than they ever were in WWE. And what do you think is going to happen with Roman Reigns? He could easily follow The Rock's fucking footsteps and be the most paid guy in Hollywood. He's got the looks for it. I don't know how well of an actor he is. Becky Lynch, minus the accent. I heard really, really bad things about her Billions episode. One of the lowest episodes in the history of the show. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but WWE can't call themselves sports entertainment. WWE can't want the spotlight, can't want the ESPN and ABC and fucking Michael and Kelly fucking shows and ABC America, Good Morning America, right? They can't have all this shit and then fucking be mad at these people like Reigns and Cena and Becky Lynch wanting to do more. In fact, I actually respect it. You're not going to live a great life with what you did in pro wrestling, and then when you call it a day and retire, you're going to live off WWE handsomely. It's over after that. You got to have a plan B. I don't know why anybody is upset for Roman or Becky or anybody having a plan B after their plan A is a no more. That's it. That's it. Now, the other thing I mentioned, Bryan Alvarez could be right, and it would be slight mockery if Vince McMahon is out there not fucking wearing a mask and not doing this, and he thinks the CV-19 is the fucking flu and he's not scared of it. It's pretty much mockery in plain sight. Like, really? I need Vince McMahon to fucking not be afraid of it. What the fuck does that tell me when he's not falling in line with everything else that the general public are doing? Like, is there something happening or is there not something happening? Because if Vince is not worried at 74 fucking years old, why the fuck should I be worried? Right? Is this WWE's way to be mad at Roman Reigns now and, we're going to keep you off TV, right? We're going to keep you out. And when you come back, we're going to have this big hero's welcome for you. You're going to be the most over babyface, out of sight, out of mind type of shit. And then when it comes back and there's crowds and there's life to these shows again, Roman Reigns is going to be revered as a hero. That's what I'm thinking about in the back of my head. So I'm not sure what's going on yet. I want to say something smells fishy, but it's too early to tell if something does smell like bullshit. So I'm going to wait. I'm going to see. But I think WWE is in the wrong here, and they have nobody to blame but themselves. You can't call yourself sports entertainment and then, be mad at somebody for branching out in the entertainment industry. Seriously, if that's the case, go back to calling yourself professional wrestling, which, in my eyes, it still is. Fuck sports entertainment. Vince McMahon's current vision for WWE. Vince McMahon's vision is, you guessed it, failure. If Vince McMahon's current vision for WWE is failure, then he's on the right track. WWE's television viewership continues to decline below the 2 million fans a week peak, right? This huge decline can be blamed on a lot of things. WWE is working in the middle of a pandemic, fears, political strife, other concerns, uncertainty, right? Storylines on television are complete garbage. The empty arenas are complete fucking just depressing. 3 hours of television every single week, 2 hours on Friday, 3 hours on Monday, 2 hours on Wednesday. It's so much that people become more depressed and more upset by watching this shit that they've stopped watching. Seriously. When everybody said, I'm watching pro wrestling to escape the reality. Meanwhile, you're watching pro wrestling and the reality is staring you right in the fucking face. It's staring you right in the face. During PW Insider Elite Audio, Mike Johnson revealed that he asked a few people within WWE about the company's current television product. He was told time and time again that McMahon is still the one in charge. Everyone in WWE is doing their best, But the show that is presented on television is exactly what Vince McMahon envisions it to be. Trash. Vince McMahon envisions failure, and this is Vince McMahon's failure becoming a reality, folks. He says, and I quote, "A lot of people have said that if there is one person to blame for the show, it's got to be Vince McMahon. I spoke to a lot of people in the last week and said, why do you think the show is just there and it's just sort of kind of wandering and there's not a lot of excitement to it and not a lot of spark? And 3 different people said to me, the show you are seeing is the show Vince McMahon wants you to see." End quote. He goes on to continue and say, so that's pretty much how it goes. Vince gets the credit when something is good, and when something isn't so great, Vince has to take the blame even though he doesn't want to take the blame. Oh, I will certainly lay blame on Vince McMahon. These shows are fucking garbage. Every single week. They're putting television on for 3 hours on Monday and 2 hours on Friday. I will be here as if there is fucking 10,000 people in that arena every single week. That is the shit that you are giving me. And that is the shit you deserve. A 1.68 on Monday and a 1.9 on Friday. You deserve it. The ratings reflect the shows. And if he doesn't see it, then he needs to start opening up. Opening his eyes up. I don't understand it. Vince McMahon takes credit for all the good things. He doesn't take credit for the bad things. That's when he lays blame on somebody else. So WWE's chairman has experienced quite a bit of bad luck recently. But he's the only one to blame for everything that has come upon him. The past few months, Vince McMahon has seen the worst of the worst. I don't know what the current vision for WWE TV should be at this point. You know, I would say normally my answer to this would be take the NXT model and do it on Monday night. Do it on Friday night. I can't even tell you that because I'm starting to see more of Raw and SmackDown filter onto NXT that it's fucking ruining that show. I'm hearing things from commentary that I would hear on Monday and Friday, on Wednesday that I wouldn't normally hear. So normally I'd say that. On a good, normal day, I'd say take the NXT model, take the logic, the realism, the intensity, this and that, and the storylines, the continuity, and the fucking how you care for your talent, and just do that. How difficult can it be? Triple H makes it look like a walk in the fucking park. Meanwhile, these guys can't even put together a fucking string of wins and make Angel Garza and Andrade and Austin Theory look like a solid group of fucking guys. They can't do it. That, something so simple, they can't do. They can't do it. I don't know what Vince's vision is or what he will continue to do as the weeks go on, but as the ratings go this way, you would expect Vince's fucking attitude towards the product to say, you know what, things got to change. They're gonna continue to go down. Down. The ratings are gonna get worse. The ratings are gonna get worse. Guys, I am fully aware that everything as we know it has ceased to exist. Everything that we love doing is no more, at least for the time being right now. Can't go to craft beer bars, can't go to the movies, you can't attend any concerts or sporting events. So everything has to be brought to us in the comfort of our own home. And you guys know that I'm a big craft beer guy, and I need my craft beer. If I can't attend one of my beer fests or sit down at my favorite craft beer bar, I am a very disappointed JD. That's why I have partnered with Tavour to bring you guys the best in craft beer so that you can bring the craft beer bar to the comforts of your own home. Turn your fridge into the best craft beer bar around. All you gotta do is download the app. The app gets access to hard to find 100% craft beer, independent craft beer from across the United States. New beers are shared every single day. You can build your own custom box of the beers that you love or enroll in a subscription, and they will automatically snag the highest rated beers that suit your taste profile. No minimums or commitments. Ship any amount of beer of your handpicked choice directly to your doorstep for a flat fee, or you guys can sign up for a subscription service and get free shipping. Now, what they had as of late is Pocket Watch by Urban Artifact out of Cincinnati, Ohio. 1,000 pounds of Concord grapes, they got it. 1,000 pounds of red plums. Got it. 1,000 pounds of black currants. Okay, that sounds absolutely delicious. You guys can get beer like that on Tavour. 100% independent, 650 breweries featured, beer from 47 states, and over 7,000 beers tasted. Guys, all you have to do is go to Tavour's website, use our code SCRIPT at checkout. You guys are going to save $10 off a purchase of $25 or more. Bring the craft beer bar to the comfort of your own home and check out Tavour. And I want to thank them for sponsoring the podcast right here on Off the Script. All right, man, let's get into the good stuff here. As if we haven't talked about enough good stuff as it is with the Revolt, the Revival, whatever you want to call them on Talk Is Jericho. This next piece of information brings a smile to my face that you wouldn't believe. SmackDown on Fox hits record low in the ratings. Friday's WWE SmackDown episode with Otis versus Dolph Ziggler in the main event as the final blue brand Money in the Bank qualifying match for the men drew an average, that was in the main event by the way, drew an average of 1.885 million viewers on Fox according to Show Buzz Daily. The final number is down from the overnight viewership that was released on Saturday morning, which was an average of 1.919 million viewers. This number is also down from last week's final SmackDown viewership of 2.005 million viewers. Friday SmackDown drew a 0.5 rating in the key demographics of 18 to 49, a 0.6 rating in the 25 to 54 demo, and a 0.2 rating in the 18 to 34 demographic. Last week's episode drew a 0.5 in the 18 to 49, a 0.6 remained steady at the 25 to 54 demographic, and a 0.3 in the 18 to 49 demographic. So, largely remained similar to the weeks before, or the week before. This is the lowest viewership and ratings since the show came to Fox. SmackDown tied for number 4 in the ratings at the 18 to 49 demographic on network TV this week. SmackDown tied for number 3 in the 18 to 49 demographic this week, tied for number 5 in 25 to 54 demo. SmackDown came in at number 8 for the night in viewership on Friday on network TV behind Blue Bloods, Magnum P.I., MacGyver, Blacklist, Dateline, Shark Tank. I wish somebody would throw fucking I love you into the fucking Shark Tank. And 2020. Blue Bloods topped the night on network TV in viewership this week with an 8.522 million viewership. Man, WWE wishes they were back at that 8.5 million, right? Guys, are you surprised by this whatsoever? I mean, really? Are you really surprised by this at all? I mean, let's go over what happened on SmackDown. We got Jeff Hardy continuing his comeback story, right? They put so much effort into getting Jeff Hardy over that they refuse to do that for any new and up-and-coming talent on WWE. They're treating Jeff Hardy like the second coming of the biggest coming up-and-coming superstar in the WWE, the second coming of John Cena. Where has this been for Austin Theory, Andrade, Ricochet, Angel Garza, Humberto Carrillo? Where has it been? I ask, because Jeff Hardy's getting better treatment than the guys that need the treatment. Jeff Hardy's a Hall of Famer. So why exactly are they treating Jeff Hardy the way that they are? Oh, that's right, because fuck Matt Hardy. That's why. WWE wants to show you that Matt Hardy leaving isn't the big deal. We retained the cooler and better Hardy. So spare me the bullshit. WWE should be doing exactly what they're doing with Jeff for everybody else up and coming from. Has there been something on Shayna Baszler? Of course not. Has there been something on Bianca Belair? Was there something on the Street Profits? On the Viking Raiders? On AOP? On Buddy Murphy? I can go on and on, bro. Give me a break. They don't invest in the future. They are clueless. Absolutely clueless. And they should be called out for their bullshit. Money in the Bank qualifier, Mandy Rose versus Carmella. Who gives a shit? I would have loved if Mandy got in there and kind of, I guess, played off the fact that Otis was in there, right? But then you got Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose happening on SmackDown on Friday on regular TV and not on the pay-per-view. You're doing the match 2 days before the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Months of build for the culmination of a feud. The first match between these two after the breakup to happen on SmackDown and not on the pay-per-view? Bro, come on. If that is not negligence, I don't know what is. Daniel Bryan versus King Corbin? What was the point? You got Daniel Bryan, who's an odds-on favorite to win the Money in the Bank, and Baron Corbin, who has been pushed to the fucking moon by WWE. Why are you putting two guys in a match knowing that neither one of them can lose? Wasted 15 minutes of our time. And if you think I want to see Baron Corbin in the ring for 15 minutes, man, you are sadly mistaken. Sheamus has been a refreshing, or a breath of fresh air, or a refreshing breeze on SmackDown. He destroyed Leon Ruff from Evolve, and they're putting him in a feud with Jeff Hardy, which doesn't mean anything good for Sheamus. Not the way they're building Jeff Hardy up. Sheamus deserves his own fucking push, yet they're putting him in a match against Jeff Hardy, or putting him in a feud with Jeff Hardy, knowing that he cannot win. Or maybe he gets one win, depending on how long this goes. It doesn't make sense to me. Bray Wyatt treats Braun Strowman to a story time for the story of the Black Sheep. Yes, I'm thrilled. I'm fucking gleaming with excitement over Braun Strowman versus fucking Mr. Rogers Bray Wyatt at Money in the Bank. They booked themselves into a fucking corner. And then Otis versus Dolph Ziggler, which, we already got the conclusion to this storyline. Now it's more on to Mandy and Sonya. I didn't really care for their match at WrestleMania. I don't really know why we needed to see it again. And why is Otis away from Tucker? And why are you pushing Otis as a single away from Heavy Machinery? I don't get it. Your tag team division is in fucking shambles right now, yet you want to split up a legit tag team in Heavy Machinery? For what? For Otis to sink into mediocrity on SmackDown, right? I don't understand it. I really, 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 really don't understand. I love Otis, don't get me wrong. But as a single, right now, when Heavy Machinery has done nothing as a tag team, not one reign, I don't really understand WWE's logic there. That was SmackDown in a nutshell, folks. That was SmackDown in a nutshell. And then you wonder why they got a 1.885 million rating. I don't feel 1 ounce of sympathy for these people whatsoever. WWE edited Roman Reigns out of the Seth Rollins thing. We talked about that. Rumors of Roman having backstage heat with the company emerged when people began taking notice that WWE's not mentioned Reigns on TV since WrestleMania 36. However, not only is WWE not mentioning Reigns on TV, but they are also editing him out of clips that they show on TV. On Raw, WWE showed the awesome Seth Rollins cash-in at number 1, highlighting the top 10 Money in the Bank cash-ins before their pay-per-view on Sunday. For those that don't know, Rollins pinned Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 31 and not Brock Lesnar. So they're rewriting history, as it seems, and they edited Roman Reigns out. I mean, I get it. You're upset at him, but you're now changing history because you're upset that he missed a WrestleMania against Bill Goldberg in an empty arena. You're lucky that it was this WrestleMania that he missed and not something that actually meant something. Spare me. I'm not a big fan of Roman Reigns, but Jesus Christ, don't do the moment, don't do that match, and don't do Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins dirty. They all played a pivotal fucking factor in making that match and that moment amazing. It's one of the few WrestleMania moments that I could actually hang my fucking hat on and say, you know what, that was fucking great. And now they want to rewrite it because they're upset at Roman Reigns for missing an empty arena WrestleMania against Goldberg? Jesus. And then you wonder why their ratings are where they are. And you wonder why everybody shits on the fucking company. And this is coming from an anti-Roman Reigns guy. Defending him. Bullshit. We got Otis and Dolph in the main event on SmackDown. I found this hilarious. I found it fucking hilarious. Carl Anderson took a cheap shot at WWE on Twitter, and it pretty much, again, solidified and gave me this justification of what I just talked about the Revival. How WWE, they were telling me, yeah, we're going to give you the tag team division, and we're going to do right by the tag team division, and all they wanted to do was go out there and wrestle and really make the tag team division great. WWE did not want these guys to get over. For whatever reason, it's a sin to go out there and get over. So they minimized everything regarding the tag team division. They minimized everything regarding anybody that they don't have plans for in the pipeline to be pushed. Carl Anderson took a shot at WWE on Twitter. Dolph Ziggler and Sonya Deville are still scheming together in an attempt to seek revenge on Mandy and Otis, which we all know. And Ziggler had trouble finding his clip of his promo with Sonya Deville on SmackDown. Otis was shown on WWE social media by WWE, and his promo was given, or his post-match interview was given after he beat Dolph Ziggler. The company did not release Dolph Ziggler and Sonya Deville's segment from SmackDown, which I thought was great. I thought Dolph Ziggler cut a fantastic promo. Sonya Deville looked great in that promo. They did not post the segment online at all, on their website, on their social media, for some reason. So clearly this bothered Dolph Ziggler, and he sent out a request to fans to see who might have had the clip of his promo. Anyone know how to find or have a clip of myself and Sonya backstage from Friday Night SmackDown? They conveniently posted Otis and Mandy, but not ours. So Carl Anderson tweeted back at Dolph saying this, and I quote, "They'll conveniently leave out lots of things that'll get you more over. There might be some sour grapes going on there, but he could have had a good reason to say what he did." Now, I don't know if that's sour grapes. I doubt it. But Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows will be fine. But what he said, they'll conveniently leave out lots of things that'll get you more over. Look at that. And then JD's talking out of his ass on the podcast, right? He's an unintelligent, uninformed goon, right? Says the social media cretin. Spare me. There's a reason why you're here listening to me, even though you don't like me. Because I speak fact. Most of the time. I'm not right all the time, but I know what the fuck I'm talking about, dude. I really am. All right? I really do. Months after Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows signed new 5-year deals, they were released. $750,000 a year. The company axed them. It was disappointing, but I'm sure they'll land on their feet and they'll end up being elite. At some point, they'll end up back in New Japan. They'll probably end up in AEW. The Carl Anderson just posted a picture on Instagram sitting down to whatever it was, lunch or dinner with the Young Bucks. I don't know when it was. Clearly, it's not as of recently, but, I mean, he's either playing everybody or they're really going to end up over there. You know, they're not going to let you know what's going on. They're going to play kayfabe. They're going to play the kayfabe card until that moment comes. When 90 days is up, then you'll see them on, I guess, AEW or back when New Japan goes into business. AEW is the only promotion right now, so if you want work, there you go. Doors are open. I'm sure Tony Khan would welcome you with open arms. The SmackDown hacker has something planned for Money in the Bank. So if you look closely at the video on their recent Twitter message, the hacker is seen punching in a code on a cell phone, and the code is 051020. That just happens to be the date on Sunday for Money in the Bank, Mother's Day. The coordinates shown in the video are 28.5623 north and 81.2907 west. That is for the Performance Center in Orlando, which rules out the hackers' involvement with the Money in the Bank ladder matches due to those matches being taped at the WWE headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut. The rest of the show will take place at the Performance Center. So I don't know what that means. We'll see what happens. People are mentioning that it could be the end of the New Day with Big E and Kofi. It could be the end of Sasha and Bayley. Both of those matches, or both of those teams, I guess, will be taking place inside the Performance Center live on Sunday night. So we'll see what happens. So it looks like we may see a new development in the hacker mystery at Money in the Bank. Now, there is a major speculation going on in the community about who this is. We mentioned Ali. We mentioned Gable. We mentioned Xavier Woods. I don't think it's Xavier Woods. If I was to choose, I'd probably say Xavier and Gable. probably working as a duo here. WWE is doing their best because some fan uncovered the truth about who the hacker is. So WWE is trying to lead you off the scent for this hacker and who the hacker is. So much so that WWE on Fox and their Twitter account teased CM Punk being the SmackDown hacker. And all they did was this. The video that they posted that aired on Friday Night SmackDown, obviously the one I just mentioned, the passcode numbers were the date for Money in the Bank. These hints would suggest that the hacker is doing something at the pay-per-view. Another interesting thing to note is that the tweet that they put out on their social media, Fox, WWE on Fox, also includes the words written upside down, "Do I have everybody's attention now?" Well, if that sounds familiar, that was the same line used by CM Punk several years ago when he was an active member of the WWE roster cutting his glorious pipe bomb on WWE. On a side note, if you're wondering what happened with this, WWE actually, CGI'd it or edited it into the WWE Backstage show that happened on Tuesday, and the hacker interrupted WWE Backstage because it was taped, and they just edited the hacker into the show post-production. Folks, if you are out there believing that CM Punk is the SmackDown hacker, you might have the brain cells of a box of crayons. Seriously, CM Punk is not the SmackDown hacker. CM Punk will never be the SmackDown hacker. If CM Punk is the SmackDown hacker, I probably will go off on WWE for having the worst creative department in the history of wrestling, which we all know exists right now in WWE. They may be worse than I could have ever imagined. If CM Punk is making a return to pro wrestling, do you honestly think he would come back for an empty arena edition of WWE for the months to come and be revealed as the SmackDown hacker? You think this is the creative idea that would bring him back to WWE? CM Punk's return, if at all, will be in front of live human beings. It will not be inside an empty performance center as the fucking SmackDown hacker. Okay? So please get it out of your system. Punk is not coming back to the WWE via this gimmick. That's all I will say. This is not CM Punk. If that was the best you had for CM Punk, the entire WWE should be ashamed, and everybody on creative should fire themselves. Seriously. And I'll rename it Glorious Friday instead of Black Friday, where people lose their jobs. I would be actually happy that these people lost their jobs because that's how fucking terrible they are at their position. Awful. Otis. We talked about Otis. Otis's character is getting a big change backstage in SmackDown. Now, what is this? I guess we talked about it a couple of times in this show already. There is news right now that pretty much has been confirmed by several sources that Otis is a single now. No, he's not single. I guess he is single. They're not really dating, him and Mandy. I think Mandy is dating some soccer player or football player or something. She's dating some muscle-bound geek. She's not dating Otis, even though I think that would be fantastic for Otis. Otis is a single wrestler. He's a singles wrestler now. He's not with Tucker. He's not in Heavy Machinery. He might be in a quote-unquote relationship with Mandy on television, but he's a singles performer. Heavy Machinery appears to be over. Now, Otis is in Money in the Bank. I doubt Tucker's going to show up at Money in the Bank. If he does, I'd be surprised. I don't think Tucker is going to cost Otis the Money in the Bank ladder match. I don't know what they're doing. Now, Vince McMahon is overseeing everything in this storyline. Everything. He has taken the reins for this storyline. Vince McMahon's decision in this, he's taken the reins of this storyline, and he is giving it his full support when needed. The company actually released the writer who was responsible for crafting the Mandy Rose and Otis storyline through WrestleMania. The angle continued and has only evolved since Sonya Deville and her intentions were made clear on SmackDown, where she finally split from Mandy Rose. Vince is the driving force on all things Otis. Like everything else in WWE, Vince McMahon has the final say. He is especially involved in the Heavy Machinery members' push as a single. Otis will be in the Money in the Bank on Sunday. There was a rumored plan for WrestleMania 36 that would have seen Heavy Machinery team with Mandy against Dolph, Bobby Roode, and Sonya Deville, which would have been great because that would have included Bobby Roode and Tucker. But that was nixed and it evolved into a singles match. And I'm assuming we're going to eventually get a tag team mix match between Sonya and Dolph versus Mandy and Otis. Where that leaves Tucker, I don't know. They could easily fit Tucker into there as the disgruntled guy that's been left out. Otis has been paying him less attention and more attention to Mandy. But the thing is, they should not be broken up. They should still be a tag team. They should be vying for the tag team titles. Why? Why are you killing a division in light of an Otis singles push when we know he will never really amount to much of what we see now? I don't get it. Vince is out of his fucking mind. You know, some say Vince is a genius. Vince is an idiot. Vince is an idiot. At 74 years old, Vince is a fucking idiot. I don't trust Vince with anything. These shows are terrible, and they are Vince McMahon's vision. If you think Vince McMahon's a genius after what we've seen on television lately, you may be as dumb as him. Give me a fucking break. Otis and Tucker belong in a tag team. Heavy Machinery belongs in the tag team division. I'm not saying you can't align Mandy with Heavy Machinery. What's the problem with that? What is the problem? We have enough singles talent that you're not using. Do we really need Otis? Unreal. Sami Zayn. A lot of people have been asking about Sami Zayn here. And after the news came out that he was a troublemaker backstage or he's been a pain in the ass to deal with, a lot of people were doing some investigative work on Sami Zayn. I found news, and Fightful actually reported this, Sean Ross Sapp reported this, that Sami Zayn's current WWE contract is up in the fall of 2021. He signed a 3-year deal before June 2008, on his injury. Contract extended due to missed time for the injury. So clearly added all that time on to his contract. He would have been out earlier, but he was injured. He needed double shoulder surgery, I believe. It appears that Zayn is in the same boat as other superstars who had their WWE contracts extended. The company was going to do something similar to Scott Dawson unless the Revival forked over copyright rights to get out of their contracts early that they paid their own money to obtain. Zayn is not injured. He did recently reveal that he had oral surgery. I wonder if Britt Baker was his dentist. But he is not recovering at home anymore. He simply decided to stay home rather than go back to work and work the television tapings. Good for him. He doesn't have to be there if he doesn't want to, but I'm sure he's going to have this surprise awaiting him when he comes back. Intercontinental title reign over. You were not a team player. So, Sami Zayn, it was said that he was a problem backstage. He was described as being a nightmare to work with, and he riled others up backstage. Again, I don't believe that. That doesn't really come across as Sami Zayn-like, but he is very political, and it might have been all over the stay-at-home stuff. He didn't want to come to work. He voiced his opinion about WWE putting on shows. That's why that was interpreted the way that it was. Who knows? But he's home. He's doing what he thinks is right, and we got to respect that. But Sami Zayn, I could absolutely see El Generico back somewhere on the Indies or AEW or New Japan. Sami Zayn, I could absolutely say without a shadow of a doubt, when the fall 2021 time comes, he is gone. Sami Zayn is gone from the WWE. I don't see him taking the money and being complacent. I think Sami Zayn wants to do more than what WWE is doing with him right now. Someone who will not be doing more is Jimmy Uso. He's out of action for 6 to 9 months. Jimmy Uso suffered a knee injury. I'm assuming that happened at WrestleMania because we haven't seen them at any point since then in that ladder match. Out 6 to 9 months. Unbelievable. The Usos just came back and like that, gone. Now, WWE does not have any creative plans for Jey Uso. What are they going to do? So Jimmy suffered the knee injury that will keep him out of action for 6 to 9 months. That would mean he could be back in late September in the best case scenario, but with it being unknown right now, it could also mean a possibility that he'll be out through the end of the year should any problems come about. Now, fans were wondering what happened, and this is the news that came about. With them being a tag team, typically if one star gets injured, then WWE will keep that partner off of television, and in some instances, not have them wrestle at all. The latest update comes from several sources, which reports that WWE officials have yet to make a decision on Jay's status, whether he'll continue to stay on television as a single star or pull him from upcoming shows until his brother is recovered and ready to wrestle again. It was noted that the situation is being discussed right now amongst Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard, Ed Koskey, and Ryan Ward. This injury comes just months after the tag team made their return, after they were off TV to get healthy and get themselves right after their recent arrest. This is terrible. All the more reason why Heavy Machinery needs to be a tag team. All the more reason why they called up the Forgotten Sons from NXT. They called up the Forgotten Sons. A lot of people were wondering, well, why are the Forgotten Sons called up to SmackDown out of the blue, literally out of nowhere? Dave Meltzer noted on the latest Wrestling Observer Radio that Wesley Blake, Steve Cutler, and Jackson Riker were brought up to the main roster to replace the Usos in storyline because they could not be there due to the injury of Jimmy Uso. So WWE has not done much with the Forgotten Sons on NXT television. So they are on TV. They have not been really given much of anything as far as who they are. They were in a match against the New Day on SmackDown, which was very good, but you had them beat the champions. The champions lost to an up-and-coming team that came up from NXT. They got demoted from NXT. So now WWE has booked them in a proverbial shithole because you had them beat the tag team champions. And what are you going to do with the pay-per-view in this fatal four-way match with Miz and Morrison, the Lucha Brothers, they wish, Lucha House Party, New Day, and the Forgotten Sons? Do the Forgotten Sons pin one of those teams in the fatal four-way to become tag team champions? Because you know they're not fucking pinning the New Day again. Do they pin the Lucha House Party? I don't know. Do you give them the tag team championships this early after putting them on the New Day for a 9th time? I don't understand the logic here. Why must we have these matches come to be when a challenging team beats a championship team? How stupid. And this all goes back to there be no division. There is no division on SmackDown. So don't do anything at all. And we'll discuss this more tomorrow because there are news articles floating around that WWE is contemplating ending the brand split. If that's the case, you don't even have to go that route. You got enough talent at the top of the cards to work with. All you need is to merge the divisions of the women and tag team. And your problem is solved. The Forgotten Sons should have been getting the Jeff Hardy treatment with the video packages. Let me know who they are. Let me know why I should care about them. Let me know their backstory. Let me know why they're here. WWE did that for 20 seconds. And that was it. And then they think beating the New Day is going to make them miraculously over amongst the social media cretins out there. Nobody gives a fuck. They beat the New Day. Great. Now they're going to win the tag team titles being that they beat the New Day. You're going to do that? Probably not. That's why it's a fatal four-way, folks. They hide their mistakes inside the fatal four-way. So why did you have them beat the fucking tag team champions if you have no plan on giving them the tag team titles? Ridiculous. They beat the Lucha House Party for the tag team titles. Great. Did they pin the New Day? No. So it means nothing in my eyes. You can't win in that situation. They either pin the New Day or not to win the tag team titles. Pinning the New Day is the right decision. And we'll probably talk about that more as we talk about Money in the Bank over the coming hours as we lead into Money in the Bank. I got news on all the Money in the Bank stuff. I might be live on Sunday with a preview and prediction show, but look forward to that. I'll let you guys know more on tomorrow's show. Triple H sells over $1 million in WWE stock. WWE issued an SEC filing detailing the stock sales, which were made on May 4th, 2020. It declares that Paul Levesque sold 23,255 shares at an average of $43.80 a share. That is $1 million plus. So that news comes just days after Kevin Dunn sold $1.5 million worth of the company stock. With the current situation of the world, you could see why Triple H did what he did and why Kevin Dunn did what he did. WWE's been under a big microscope for continuing operations during the pandemic and didn't exactly help itself by laying off so many workers and staff, and they also have several lawsuits filed against them lately, with Levesque being named as one of the top executives in those lawsuits. Nothing is happening to the WWE, folks. I don't think anything is happening. If there is, I mean, we'll all hear about it. It's not going to be kept secret or held secret from us. They're a publicly traded company. WWE is not selling the company. Fox is not buying the company. Disney is not buying the company, right? Disney owns ESPN and somewhat of Fox. Disney's not owning WWE. Vince will not sell to them people. He will not take the company out of the McMahon's hands. He will not relinquish power in that way because that will put Vince McMahon in a vulnerable state Do I think Vince McMahon will kill the company before someone else has it? Yes, absolutely. I really do think that. But Triple H selling the stock, listen, he's got all this stock. And I'm sure he could do a lot with $1 million plus. Well, that's all it is. Triple H is selling what was given to him, and he's making some money off of it. Does that mean he thinks the stock is going to go down? Who the fuck knows? Is the company being sold and everybody's abandoning ship? No, I don't think so. So I just think it's Triple H getting himself a nice cool $1 million during this down period in pro wrestling. That's all I think it is. I don't want to sit here and really embellish on this too much because I don't really find this to be a serious story, but it was in the news, and I figured I'd let you guys know. And if you guys care at all about Cain Velasquez, we had Cain Velasquez head coach Javier Mendez, who trained Cain Velasquez, make an appearance on Sirius XM and the Luke Thomas show. During the interview, Mendez was asked about the future of Cain Velasquez. So this was said by Mendez in response. Just spoke to, or I guess this is what Thomas said in regards to what Mendez said. Just spoke to Javier Mendez, a.k.a. Cain Velasquez coach. We talked a lot, but I asked if Cain could return to MMA UFC given reports he'd been released by WWE. Mendez said that was not going to happen. He is wrestling, he said. Prior to signing with WWE last year, it was reported that Velasquez had a ton of interest from various promotions, including AAA, New Japan, and AEW. In fact, Meltzer reported that Cain was in talks with AEW and WWE, but the WWE ended up signing him, so they probably offered him so much money that he could not refuse just to keep him away from AEW, and it was all a part of the AEW effect. And then they ended up releasing him, and we went over why he was released, because he had 3 strikes against him, folks. Not only that, he was fucking completely useless in every sense of the word. He revealed that he was going to be in the Royal Rumble when WWE had no plans, if that, or no confirmation that he was going to be in the Royal Rumble at all. He pretty much went out there and revealed to everybody that Ronda Rousey was at Titan Tower, and he blew up that spot. So that was 2 strikes right there. Right? So, on top of that, he had a shitty match with Brock Lesnar. They embarrassed him. This guy was 3 strikes, and you are out of WWE. That's all it was, folks. That's all it was. That's all it takes for Mr. Cain Velasquez to go out there and get himself fired from WWE. When they said, you know what? We're looking at the timesheet here. We're looking at all the salaries here. What the fuck's Cain Velasquez here doing? Making $2 million, doing nothing. Got a bum knee. That was the other thing. They signed him, maybe not knowing that he had a knee injury. Did he tell them that he had a knee injury? Why the fuck did they offer him all this money knowing that he had a knee injury? What a stupid thing to do. 3 strikes and you're out, folks. 3 strikes and you're out. Ronda Rousey being blown up at WWE headquarters, the knee injury, and then confirmation that he was in the Rumble when WWE gave him no official confirmation on their shows. 3 strikes and you're out. And that's a strikeout that I will gladly pump my fist to, man. Believe me. Guys, I'm getting out of here. Thank you so much for sitting with me here on Off the Script. I tried to not go as long as I usually do. So we got an hour and a half. This is where I want it to be, bro. I might start reorganizing the podcast in a different way every single week, so we'll see what happens. But if you enjoy this, please hit that thumbs up. Let me know what you think down below. Thumbs up is very important. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. If you guys missed any of the videos that I uploaded this week, everything you need is linked down below. Patreon.com/JDfromNY206. And if you guys want to go check out Tavor and have some really, really great craft beer this weekend, Tavor, the website is linked down below in the description. Use code SCRIPT at checkout. Save $10 off an order of $25 or more. And I'd love to see if you guys are ordering. Send me some screenshots on Instagram, on Twitter. Follow me on social media at JDfromNY206. Guys, I'm getting out of here. I'll see you right back here on Saturday with more WWE news right here on episode 325. Until then, thumbs it up, and I'll see you right back here for part 2 on Saturday afternoon. See you guys then.